What's up, tribe? How you guys doing this evening? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is going to be your Greenleaf review, season 3, episode 10. So look, another great episode. Let me tell you something. Greenleaf be giving it to me every week. I'm so mad. I'm so ready for next week's episode, honey. Um, but let's go ahead and jump into what happened, what went down this week. Girl. I must say that shout out to Random TV Reviews, and think I think James Caldwell too. I'm trying to think of who I watch because I watch a lot of reviews, so I'm trying to think. But they called something. I'll get to it later on in the episode. But something that they called. Before I jump into this episode, though, I do want to say, go out and vote. Vote now. Vote early. Vote often. Well, you can't vote often. But for real, seriously, y'all, go out there and vote. It is imperative that you exercise that right. I'm not gonna go down no long road about you know what people went through for this to happen. But if you are just not happy with where we are right now as a country, please show everybody, show the world that democracy does work and that there are checks and balances here. Okay? Anyway, and I'm done. Until my next video. So we start the episode off. We see May writing an email to the family, basically saying, the divorce is final. But tonight we start. It was very eloquently written. She said that, but tonight we start a new family, and this is going to be a new dynamic. And we thank everybody for your thoughts and support and prayers. And your father and I still love you all very much. And it's so it was a really nice gesture. It was a really nice letter, and everybody is devastated. I mean, Charity, Gigi, and baby girl, they're all crying. We saw Zora; she's laying in bed crying. I'm glad we saw because we didn't see Zora all last week, so I'm glad that we saw Zora, and we see her a few more times this episode too. Who else? Oh, Jacob. I mean, and even Jacob was crying. So the family is just devastated by what's going on with their parents. And, I think nobody really thought it would get to that point. Which, when you got two stubborn damn dogs in the pen, they just can't back down. One of them just can't say, you know what? This has gone on too far and I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on. Whatever that baby name is. She gonna take the deal. The DA done basically told her, it's either 20 years or it's life, and she's like, look, I can't take that chance of not being there for my children, and I'm gonna take the deal. And they're like, wait a minute, no, no, no. It's Gigi and it's Miss Cross, Rochelle, and Gigi said, excuse me, y'all. Gigi said, look, is it because of me? Because I will back down. If the DA has threatened you or made you think that me being a part of this is detrimental to your case, I will back down. But please, please, please do not take this deal. And she said, look, I hear where y'all coming from, but I just can't take that chance with my kids. So, she, so Rochelle starts talking, and Coralie said, look, you ain't gonna talk me out of this. She said, yes, I am, and I need you to listen. And so she goes on to tell her story. And in the midst of telling her story, what she don't realize is she gave Gigi exactly what she needed. But she tells the story about how her and her sister were in foster care, how her mom went to jail when they were younger, and couldn't care for them, or whatever what she said they couldn't care for. She couldn't care for them, and that they were in the system. She said, and I'm not going to sit here and let you do that to your children. She said, not on my watch. She said, at the very least, can you at least sit down and talk to the lawyer that Gigi has gotten for you? And if you're not happy or you're not satisfied with what he says, then, fine. And she said, okay, fine, I'll take the deal. But in the midst of her telling that story, she done gave Gigi just enough of a breadcrumb to go back to Rick Fox, Darius, and be like, look, I got some more information. See what you can do with this. Now, I was kind of thinking that Rick Fox was in it with Rochelle, but I don't know. I'm not too sure now because Rick Fox actually helped them get some information that they needed. So, unless that's part of the plan, which I don't think it is, because I don't think Rochelle is ready for them to know who she is yet. So, Rick Fox ended up being able to trace Rochelle and her sister to their foster mom, and they went up to they went to the foster mom, introduced themselves and was like, we have a few questions we want to ask you about some sisters that live with you. And the woman was like, oh yeah, I remember them, but their last name wasn't Cross. Their last name was, I think she said Jones. So we're going to get back to that. Okay. So Gigi is able to put two and two together, right? We're going to get back to that. So then we go back over to Triumph. Let's get back over to Triumph. So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure. Oh, Carissa is like, she's ready to be first lady full throttle. She said, how could Tasha just leave us hanging like this? She said, but, that's fine because it's time for me to take over as my full role as first lady. I knew that keeping my job as principal was going to keep me from really living up to my full role as first lady. They kept thinking she was the first lady and it was me all along, and so I'm gonna take over that office. I mean, she's just excited, right? And Jacob is just like, and Carissa was like, she didn't give you no clue, she didn't tell you why she quit. He was like, nah, she just rolled out. Nah. See, Jacob, what you should have said was she got a little too close and she was getting inappropriate, and so I felt it was best that we part ways. Now, with your history being what it is, Carissa probably would have gave you a side eye. However, you going to her first probably would have offset anything Tasha came at her with, because then she would have been like, oh yeah, Jacob did tell me you was trying to get with him. But you ain't do that, so you got what you got. So while this is going on, we see that they still getting ready for day with Lady May. Bishop and Sister Patterson, honey, they had a back and forth, and they talking about, how Jesus went into the town on the palm leaves, and they were a bunch of biblical scripture that I ain't gonna get into all that. But basically, Bishop was like, yeah, but who's the donkey, you or? And he kind of nods towards Lady May. And Sister Patterson said, I don't know who the donkey is, but I do know who the ass is. I said, oh, did she say that in church? Oh, she said that in church. But, honey, and so, of course, they still on there playing, Sister Patterson said, we got him on the ropes. He don't know whether he's coming or going. He don't even look comfortable in his own church. And she was like, yeah, he don't even know what's coming for him. I'm like, yeah, I think he does. He ain't stupid. He know what y'all up to. I don't know if he can stop it. I don't know what he think he gonna. I don't know what his counter plan is, but he ain't stupid. He knows something is up. So, now Sister Patterson tells Lady May, they planning out the schedule, they finalizing everything for the day, and she tells her, look, who you need to get up on that pulpit is Gigi. And Lady May's like, oh, no. She has somebody else coming along. Patterson said, I don't know what favor you owe her, but who you need up there is Gigi. She said she's the one. She's going to be the one to get everybody on your side. And that's who you need to hook your wagon to. Lady May ain't trying to hear it. She's like, no, that's it. Gigi ain't going to have nothing to do with this, and that's a wrap. That's it. I said, okay. Bishop and Miss Cross, they doing their thing, they flirting or whatever. Now that she said, is it true the rumors I heard, Bishop, that you and Lady Man no more? And he was like, yeah, it is what it is. And so she said, well, can we go out for a drink in public now or something? He was like, yeah, I'd like that. I just don't understand these men. Their ego. Your friend Percy tried to give you some good word and try to say what is it that she want from you, because the sure ain't your athletic prowess and your good your 20-year-old looks. Like, what is it that she trying to get from you? And you still on that it's nothing. She not looking at nothing. Honey. So back over to Triumph now. Carissa is taking over her duties as first lady, and she goes in to introduce herself to the new accountant. And the new accountant is like, hey, thank you, welcome, whatever. He said, but it's some things going on with these accounts. And she said, well, the last person that did the books, they just weren't a great accountant. He said, no, that's obvious. He said, but that ain't what I'm talking about. And he starts talking about how there are some irregularities that he found the shadow account, and he found that money was going into that account. So of course Carissa is like, what the hell? So they take the paperwork to your boy Jacob. And Jacob, of course, is like, well, I remember her saying something about the real church, but I don't know what all this is, because your ass was just signing papers and you wasn't reading them, and you didn't know what the fuck she was putting in front of you and what you was signing. So now they're trying to call Tasha, and of course, Tasha is sitting on the couch taking Jack Daniels straight to the head. Now, let me tell you something. Anybody who knows anything about me knows I love me some Jack Daniels. I don't even drink Jack Daniels like that. I mean, she was straight taking big old gulps, right? She is 2 sheets to the wind. She ain't answering the phone. She's like, oh, now you got something to say to me, because she thinks it's Jacob calling, I guess, to apologize. She really doesn't realize the can of worms that she has unleashed by quitting and letting somebody else take over those books. She's really just caught up in her own. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I think she does, because her and Cross get into it, and she tells Cross Jacob is a good man. The the damage is already done, and y'all need to leave him alone. He don't have nothing to do with this. He's not guilty. And so Cross was like, are you in love with him? She was like, and so what if I am? She said he's a good man, and y'all are trying to, and no, she didn't say y'all. She said he's a good man, and I'm not really with this anymore. And she was like, you need to get your ass back over to Triumph, so they don't start going through your books and start finding what you did. And she was like, it's too late anyway. I'm gone now. Like, it's too late. She said, Cross said, if you don't get your ass back over to Triumph, Tasha said, or what? What you gonna do? She said, well, if Basie finds, she said, Basie is dead. She said, why you think Basie's dead? She said, because if he wasn't dead, then where is he? Basically, I'm his wife, and I ain't heard from him in months. So if he's not dead, then where the hell is he? So she tells Cross, get out of my house, and if you come back, I'm calling the police. She said, and I might just forget to tell him the story that I'm supposed to tell him. I said, Lord, she didn't sign her death warrant. Because, see, Cross looks like the kind of person to make your ass disappear in the marshland. So Cross rolls up out the house, and she gets in the car. She makes a phone call. She said, we got a problem. I said, oh, Tasha didn't sign her death warrant. It's about to be a wrap up in there. About to be a wrap. So let's go back up. Let's go down to Atlanta. We find out that Zora and Isaiah are down in Atlanta, and he's promoting a new album, and they're at the radio station, and Zora's sitting there. She's his sidekick. Like, she has been reduced to just be the person that carries his damn coat, right? And he's interviewing, and women calling in, flirting and everything, and they ask him point blank, was that your girlfriend's house? We saw you live with all that drama. He was like, well, everything is everything. What the fuck, everything is everything? What that mean? So while they're sitting there, Zora gets a call. She gets a text message on her phone from Spelman College. And she didn't have her phone on silent. So, of course, she's like, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. This young lady is playing a really good role, because I believe her. You know what I mean? I believe that she is terrified but in love at the same time. She's in love with this boy but scared of him all at the same time. And it's evident. Like, she's doing a really good job of emitting that emotion to us. She's her phone rang, and she knew she was in trouble when that phone went off, and it wasn't even like a ring. It was just like a little text message, like a little chime when you get a text message. And he looked at her, the way he looked at her, she was like, oh shit. Like, you could tell she was like, I'm in trouble, And so when it was over with, she said, I'm so sorry, baby. It was Spelman College. I forgot I even applied, to Spelman. It's no big deal. I'm sorry. He snatches the coat from her. He said, you've been making a lot of mistakes lately. I said, oh, here we go. So later on in the episode, we see where they're back at the house, and she's fixing him some cake, look like some strawberry shortcake or something like that. And she takes it over to him, and he's ignoring her, right? And she's like, baby, I'm sorry. You still mad at me? I said I was sorry. And he was like, and they get to arguing basically. And she says, well, you mad at me, but you can't even acknowledge my presence. Like, people, them thirsty ass women on the radio, you couldn't even say, yes, that's my girlfriend. And he was like, well, when you start acting like one, I'll start claiming you as one. I said, oh Lord, here we go. And she said, it was just from, Spelman. She said, what's the big deal? Maybe I'll go. And he was like, what you mean? Oh, so now you ready to run now? Or you don't want to be with me now? And she was like, no, but we're right here in Atlanta. I mean, Spelman is right here. What's the big deal? he was like, I need you on tour with me. I really need you with me. And you just gonna leave me like that? And she was like, but baby, it's just not a big deal. He said, well, it's really a mute point anyway, isn't it? Because last I checked, Spelman ain't taking high school dropouts. And you could see her whole face just drop. Like, I think the realization of her situation hit her at that moment. Like, damn. Like, I don't think, even though your mama tried to tell you you were throwing it all away, I don't think it really sunk in until that moment. You know what I'm saying? And so, and then he throws the cake talking about something, I'm watching my carbs. I said, this baby. So later on, we see that she looks at the email that she got from Spelman, and you see her like she's really torn, because now I think she's torn between going back home with her tail tucked between her legs, right? Because now you have to go back home and admit that everybody was right and that you should have listened to them, and that's what's going to make her stay in this bad situation longer than she should, unfortunately, because now she don't know how to come back from it. Which is where a lot of people end up staying in bad situations because people try to tell them and they don't know how to come back and save face. And that's why sometimes it's best to not say stuff. Just let people go so that they don't feel like a door has been closed when they leave. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard for us not to put our 2 cents in, but, sometimes you just got to let it go, knowing because you know where it's going to end. So just let them go. But that way it still feels like the door is open for them to come back through it. So there's Zora and Isaiah. So back to, I want to make sure because I'm kind of going out of order. Okay, Charity and the Minister of Music for Sister Patterson. Her music director meets up with Charity because they have to plan for, they have to basically merge the 2 music programs for Day with Lady May. And, he's a nice looking. I've seen him in some stuff before. I can't place it, but he's a really nice looking guy. I've seen him in some stuff. Real smooth talker. He says, before we get started, let's say a prayer. Charity is like, oh, okay, yeah, let's say a prayer. And, when the meeting's over, he said, she said, that was the easiest meeting I've had in a long time. He said, yeah. He said, we're going out, what you doing tonight? Are you free for dinner? And she said, no, I would love to go, thanks for the offer, but I have to go home and babysit. And, not babysit, excuse me. I have to go home to my son. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, Sister Patterson didn't tell me you were married. And she said, well, I'm glad you made, it's nice that you would make that assumption, but no, I'm divorced, going on a year now. He said, oh, okay. He said, his loss or something to that effect. She said, well, and I'm only telling you this because you may see him around while you're here, but, my husband is gay. I still don't feel like he needed to know that. I still don't understand the connection. Just because you might see him doesn't mean that you need to know he gay. Like, I still didn't see that. But anyway, the guy makes a comment about, praying about his deceitful demons and stuff, right? And I said, oh, here we go. He one of these mofos that's about, all about, it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. I was like, oh, here we go with him. So later on, he calls Charity. My phone is on. I guess Isaiah whooped my ass too. What happened? Sorry, y'all. So she was like, he calls her later on that night. She said, how was your flight back? And he said, oh no, I'm still here. He said, I figure I'll be here back and forth anyway, so I'll just stay. He said, and I thought maybe if we planned ahead, you might be able to get a, get a babysitter, and we can try dinner again. And she said, okay, that would be cool. She said, but you said something a little earlier that kind of hit me funny. And he said, what did I say wrong? What I do? She said, well, you made a comment about, when I told you about my ex-husband, you made a comment about his deceitful demons. And he said, well, yeah, after everything he put you through, which made me think that he knew more than what he said he knew, because why would you assume that she went through anything? Why would you assume that she didn't willingly go into the marriage knowing, like, why would you assume that it was a struggle or something happened with them? So that made me think she knew more than what that he knew more than what he said he knew. But okay, which I think Charity picked up on that too. And then he said, well, after the lies he's telling you and the lies he's telling himself and da-da-da-da-da. And Charity was like, he said, I think you deserve more. She said, you know what? You're right. but you're not it. She said, that's still the son, the father of my child. And basically I can't be with somebody that's going to be disrespectful towards him. And she hung up on him. I said, I know that's right. You better go for a charity. I mean, I know she looking for love, but I can respect the fact that she was in a place to say, you ain't it. Like, I'm looking for love, but you ain't it. I appreciate that. So, all right. Then we got Bishop and Miss Cross. They out on a date. They over at the funeral home. They still ain't in public, but they out on the terrace having some, Dom Perignon, and and sipping, and they toasting to our future, toasting to us, blah blah blah. And back, I'll come back. Put a pin in that. So back over to Triumph. Carissa calls Tasha because they still trying to get in touch with Tasha about this whole money funny situation. And Tasha telling me something, I'm so sorry. I hope you don't think I'm a bad person. I'm so sorry, because she drunk as hell. And Carissa's like, are you drunk? What's going on with you? I'm so sorry, Carissa. I'm so sorry. And she was like, well, what are you sorry about? And she basically said, well, it was just a kiss. Carissa said, what? Say that again. It was a what? It was just a kiss. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So she done let the cat out the bag that her and Jacob done had this kiss. So now, never got to information about the accounts. Never got any information about the money. But now, of course, Carissa runs up on Jacob and confronts him, and he's trying to tell her it was just a kiss. It was no big deal. And she was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Here we go with the excuses. Here we go. He said it was just a kiss and it didn't have nothing. It was no big deal because I shut it down. Now, see, had you told her that on the front end, she probably would have believed you. But the fact that she's confronting you now and now you saying it to her, oh, I forgot about this. I didn't forget it, but yeah, I forgot about this part. So Patterson ain't letting this whole thing go with Gigi and Lady Mae. She goes to Gigi and she basically says, she tells her she'll help her with her legal defense fund, and what do you need me to do? I got your back, I'll support you, whatever. She said, but what's up with you and your mother? And Gigi was like, what you talking about? She said, come on now. What's going on with you and your mother? What's that about? She said, I don't know. And Gigi really don't know. We're going to find out what it is, though. But Gigi really don't know. So Patterson goes back to Lady Mae, and she said, Mae, look, we've been friends a long time. What is the deal with you and Gigi? What is the problem with you and your daughter? Honey, Lady Mae got up out that thing quick, fast, and in a hurry. She told me something, I'll have them send your car around front. And she was packing up her bag. She was like, I'll see you for dinner. I got something to do. And she was like, don't you do that. She was like, don't you do that, Mae. Mae, don't you do that. Honey, Mae got the hell up out of there. Well, come to find out, which is what everybody has been saying for probably about a year now, since we found out about the affair. She goes to go visit Lionel at the hospice, and Lady Mae said, Lionel, what you want? And Lionel said, we need to talk about our daughter. Honey, ain't that what people been saying for the last year? I know Random TV Reviews been saying it, and somebody else, I don't know, it was somebody else that said it too, that Lionel, that baby is Lionel's and not the Bishop's. Honey, now everybody been acting like what the Bishop did to Mae was worse than what Mae did to the Bishop, because the Bishop was sleeping with her sister. I think we got checkmate on this one. You've been passing off another man's daughter as mine all these years. That's a checkmate. That has trumped anything, in my opinion, that has trumped anything the Bishop has done. So we got all that going on. And so Gigi goes to the Bishop to let the Bishop know, and the Bishop is on cloud nine because he had just had his little date with Miss Cross, and they toasting to their future and all this other stuff. You can't tell the Bishop nothing. He floating through the air. And Gigi said, Dad, I need to tell you something about Miss Cross. And he was like, Gigi, don't you come in here unless you got some proof or something. Gigi was like, oh, I got the proof. Hold on now. I got it right here. And she lets him know. She said, look, Miss Cross is the daughter of the guy that they killed at the church. Said, that's Basie's half-sister. And that's where that ends. Of course, the Bishop is like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like you see him going click, click. Back on the other side of town, Cross is banging down Tasha's door. Tasha said, didn't I tell you you came back over here, it was going to be a problem? She picks up a lamp, takes it out the socket, and carries the lamp to the door. And she was like, go away. Go away, Rochelle. Rochelle said, look, just give me 5 minutes. I need to talk to you. Open this door. So she opens this door. She said, you got 5 seconds or it's going to be a problem. So Rochelle steps to the side like, all right, whatever. Honey, who come out the shadows? Excuse me, but Basie. And Basie backs Miss Tasha up against the wall and says, I heard you been a bad girl. Honey. And that is where the episode ends. That's why I said I can't wait till next week. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.